Yeah, I have prepared about one.
Hello. We're live. Yep. No. Hey, everybody. Esper here, doing a little bit of a different time this month for the Bardstream. That's just what worked out best for myself. And for my guest of the month, we have Michel Renders.
Thank you, Esper. Thank you for allowing me to be on your channel.
Well, thank you for agreeing to come on. We could talk about any kind of thing you want. This is pretty open. It's pretty casual. So if you have, I don't know what your topic is, or maybe you don't have a topic. Maybe you just want to hang out for a little bit. So I'm good. I'm good either way. I'm a DM, so I'm used to rolling with curveballs and anything the players throw at me.
Yeah, as dungeon masters, we have to improvise often, because of all the shenanigans that the players will throw at us.
I embrace it. I say, hey, bring it on, because to me it's boring if I know exactly what's going to happen. So I like players. I like not knowing exactly what the players are going to do and waiting for their shenanigans, and then just describing the reactions of the world and the reactions of the NPCs and reactions of monsters. I like things to be very reactive, and I also like random tables too. Random tables, I think, are magical.
Well, there is one topic that I have prepared, and it's about using a campaign world more than once. And this has happened to my own player group. A bit of history. My player group has started in 2004 and has been playing continuously until now.
Wow.
With occasionally a little gap in between. And we have a
the DM?
This is currently I'm the DM, and it's my third campaign, but we have a rotating system that after a while, one of us DMs for a while and eventually gets tired or loses some inspiration, and then someone else takes over who is then a fresh DM with fresh ideas. So yeah, we have a bit of a rotating system.
Nice. Yeah.
And at first,
so we had been going since 2004.
Yeah. At that time, we were in our early 20s, and now we are in our late 30s, early 40s. So we started as students, and now many of us have families. Some have children.
Yeah.
So things have changed over time, but as a group, we stayed together.
New ideas and new energy. The kids bring that. Oh my gosh.
Oh yeah, definitely. And they also take our time.
I'll monsters with my son, and I'll get to see what creatures he comes up with, and I'm using that. I'm taking that. That's mine. You're 4. You can't do anything about it. But yeah, I'll share the rewards with him, whatever they may be.
He will understand later. Yeah.
Well, that's really cool. You've had a group going for that long. Is it pretty much all the same players, or have you had people come and go over the years?
There are about 4 or 5 players that have been inside the group continuously. And we started out with 5, then we became 6, then we became 7, and eventually back to 6, back to 5. So it's a flowing process of players coming and going, but there always has been a core of about 5 players.
Yeah, that's a good solid core. 5 players is really good.
And it's also
just to tell everyone, you're in the Netherlands, right?
That's right. I'm from the Netherlands. I'm in the Netherlands right now. That's where I live.
So correct me if I'm wrong, but this might be kind of a cultural thing too, right? Is the Netherlands a culture that like appreciates people being consistent, reliable, punctual, this kind of thing?
Yeah, we expect people to be punctual. We still are kind of easygoing, and we try to improvise when things don't go our way. For instance, sometimes I see on the internet that DMs require their players to be very dedicated to the campaign. Like they have to follow the story, be immersed. In our group, it's more
in their blood to get into the campaign.
Yeah, in our group, it's more like, okay, if somebody has not read the campaign log, or they are just logging in after a week and I feel like, okay, what has happened again? They don't really remember anymore, and they feel a bit disconnected at that point. We tolerate it. And sometimes we also have a player who dozes off during the campaign, and then we know he's a bit tired sometimes, and then okay, well, we won't punish him for that. Sometimes we discuss it a bit, like, okay, maybe you could try to be more engaged and involved with the story, but oh well, we are still a group of friends who also play other games. So
actually, I was getting to play a player, and the DM just had a very relaxing voice, and I was always kind of tired. It was like at the end of the work week, and I would just narrate the scene some more. I'm going to take a little nap here.
Yeah.
So, okay, I suspected that cultural trait or tendency of punctuality, because in the book that I'm working, the D&D book that I'm working on, there is a Dutch artist who did some great work, Marlies Drijsma, and she was always really responsive, like very good at communicating, and had a really good work ethic, like always stayed in touch, produced the work at a good pace. And I thought, well, okay, this is nice. It was a pleasure to work with, actually.
Yeah, I can certainly.
But you're playing in Dutch when you're playing.
Yeah, we are a group of Dutch players. We play real life. So yeah, we only play and talk in Dutch during our sessions. But of course, because the D&D books, no, they're all in English, and people of the Netherlands generally can read and speak English pretty well, because our own language is not a worldwide language. It's only spoken in our own country and Belgium and a few other places. So we kind of have to learn English.
Related to each other.
It's very close, but still different enough that you cannot automatically speak or read the language without some training.
Right. But a lot of the words be similar. Like what I would say, house is probably like Haas or Hoes or something for you.
Yeah, it's huis.
House. Let's see. There we go.
Huis, yeah.
And that artist that I just mentioned, her English was also very, very good. Fantastic. So good job on you, Netherlands. Your English as a second language skills. Have I derailed a topic? I don't know if there was a question that you were getting to, and maybe I've derailed it.
Well, that happens.
Repeating a campaign module or something?
Yes, I was talking about my group, how we have a rotating DM system. And in my first campaign, it was taking place in about 2005, and it lasted for 2 years. And my players started at level 3 until all the way to level 20. And it was a full story with starting a bit an open world. The players could do what they want. And eventually there was like a big bad guy that they had to defeat, but was kind of invulnerable at start. And they had to work towards gathering resources, knowledge, artifacts to eventually defeat the bad guy. And after this campaign, well, it finished. So it naturally finished. Many of our campaigns actually don't naturally finish. They just like go out because either the DM has no more inspiration or is tired from going on. Mm-hmm. But
fade into obscurity.
Yeah, kind of indeed. Yeah. Like
then right off into the sunset and off to adventures in a faraway land somewhere.
And some campaigns also have ended because there was a kind of conflict in the group, or one of the players left, moved out to another place, and then, okay, what should we do now? Let's start a new campaign because our group has changed.
Yeah.
But that first one of mine is actually one that we all cherish. We have a lot of memories from it. There's still a lot of quoting from the characters from that campaign, and that's basically very like the magic of Dungeons and Dragons. You have this group and you make a story together, and it's all part of your group. You own that story together.
Yeah. And the little inside jokes and the little phrases that came up, like there's a new one in my local group of friends, which is put some straw on him. It's, I don't know, it sounds dumb, but to us it's so funny because they were fighting a troll and no one had fire nor acid attacks or magic or whatever. They had no such capabilities. And so they're trying to figure out, how are we going to keep this troll from regenerating, from coming back? Are we going to be able to even kill this thing? And the room they were fighting in previously had manticores that had nests, and they were sleeping on beds of I described it as like tattered bits that they'd collected, rags and little things they'd collected from about the dungeon, and straw and hay. I thought, okay, they piled up their nests so they could sleep on them in this big room. So they first killed the manticores, and then the troll came in because he heard the fighting going on, and they fought the troll. And they're trying to figure out how to kill this troll. And the one player is actually a younger brother of mine. He's playing a druid. He's like, get some straw on him. And they're like, what are you talking about? And he's like, throw the straw on him. And they put the straw on the troll, and he druid crafted. It's like, druid craft, I ignite the fire from across the room. And that's so funny. And it's a clever solution too, right? He's got a whole bed of straw igniting in fire while he's at, I think they actually go to 0, but they can come back to 10 or whatever if they don't take fire. Anyways, so
then the troll became engulfed by fire, and
and that phrase has become a phrase of basically like, we're gonna kill this guy, like kick his ass. It's like kick his ass basically now. So
it became a meme for your own group.
Yeah, it's a meme in our group.
Yep.
Strat Player 05, who's if no one has guessed it by now, is Adam Wood. Open Up. Yeah, Open Up was from Land of Dreams and Nightmares. That was our repeated joke. They yell open up at the monsters before killing them. Because I think it was a lizard folk battle where a couple lizard folk warriors were inside of a tower. It was like a dwarven tower, but the lizard folk had sacked. I can't remember now. No, they were constructing the place with dwarven allies. That's what it was. So these lizard folk warriors from an enemy tribe were holed up in this tower, and they're like, "We got to get in this tower." And I don't remember if it was Lycar, the sorcerer, but somebody was like, "Open up, just let us in. We're just coming to kill you." Is all. All right. So sorry again. I've sidetracked us.
Okay, back to the main track.
Is there like an official published module, and you're thinking about running it again?
No, it's entirely my own creation. And the idea I had with this world also in the current campaign is my own creation. What I have done now is the previous world, I have recreated it, but now the time has gone forward 200 years.
Okay.
And with the time also came technology. So at first, this world was set in a medieval fantasy, classic D&D world, and now the areas where the players previously have explored, in the end, they created a kind of nation for themselves. And this nation has developed gunpowder, has developed more Renaissance kind of technologies, and also, and together with all the surrounding nations. So now we have this Renaissance kind of world. And from there, the first goal of the characters was, okay, you're going to go on a ship, and the ship will sail towards the new world. There has been a new world across the ocean discovered, and now you're going on it. And I asked them, just think of a reason why you want to be on this ship. Well, and they did, and they formed a party, and then they set out exploring towards the new world. And now I have this place where in the new world I can do whatever I want. It's unexplored. There is ruins. There is old civilization. There are some monsters, of course. And at the same time, it's a place where all these nations are competing against each other. They all want to make colonies. And the players, they come from this world of technology, but they enter a world of mystery. And then that can clash and entwine with each other. And what I also have done is in the previous campaign, the players were level 20, and they became super, super powerful in the end, as expected of level 20 characters. And I thought, what if the original player characters are now worshipped as gods? And I also allowed the current players to be worshippers of their previous characters.
Nice.
And many of the people and inhabitants of the old world, they worship their previous characters. So what this did with the players was they remembered their old characters, and then now feel like this achievement. Oh well, my old character has made it very high for himself. And they're still like a bit of teasing each other. Oh, my character has this pantheon teachings, and yours has this. And like one player, he always fought with two swords. He was a fighter type. So I made his temples having a weapon with two crossed swords.
Nice.
And
something similar is going on with my local group, the one that I was just talking about. We had a campaign that went to level 20 in 5th edition and was world altering, and they the impacts are just so epic. And the current campaign exists in the same world, and they exist in the beginnings of the empire that the previous characters set up. And those characters are still out there, but like you said, they're god or like a demigod kind of status, right? Like a man who transcended to a higher divine state, that kind of motif. And it's awesome. It's really awesome to play in a world where your previous characters shaped the story, shaped the in-game culture, are creating new. They're actually, the current campaign is they're setting up a colony in a faraway land. It's not what you've described to me sounds sort of like, Europe exploring to the Americas, and this one is it doesn't draw so much on those, but it's still a similar, like, strike out from the established center of civilization into this kind of wilderness, but there's some ruins of some old civilizations there too, and there's mystery and danger and treasure and much to uncover.
Yeah, it indeed sounds similar, especially with the colony ID. And it gives players the opportunity to build something up from the ground up. And especially my players, even in my first campaign, they conquered a fortress, and then it became their base of operations, and they really cherished that fortress. It was theirs. And so I wanted to make them, I like to reward them with the earlier achievements and make them feel like, okay, all the decisions that you guys made helped in shaping this world. and from this point we will now make another story and expand further on it.
Build on what you
Exactly.
set into motion previously. Yeah, that's an amazing thing about tabletop role-playing games, is that you can actually do things that really matter. It's not like a video game where it's all pre-programmed into it and you've got a lot of limitations. You can actually make something that's real. I mean, for all intents and purposes, it's real in your story and it's real in the shared experience that you're all having.
There's also that one player, he did not play in my original campaign, but because all the players, they are quoting stuff from that campaign, so that player has now accumulated a lot of memes and quotes from the others, and now that player gets a chance to also enter this world. And I feel he just blends in nicely, and he plays along with them, and yeah, it's quite nice to see that. And two other players, they actually did not remember that much from the previous campaign, because it was like 2005, so that's like 14, 15, 16 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah,
so
they lost
one
some memories.
Where you've advanced the timeline. The last time you played it was over a decade ago.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Wow. Yeah. So it's like it's like a reboot of the franchise.
It's also digging up old treasures.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm curious if in the the new continent that they've sailed to, and there's like the vying of nations for establishing colonies and all that, in this new world, are you drawing upon like native like North and South American Indian mythology, like Aztec and Native American and Incan, Brazilian, things like that?
I have thought hard about that. Like, do I want to include topics like
cannons, ships?
Yeah.
Oh, come on.
I've thought about, like, do I want to include slavery or not, or do I like to include pirates or not? Yeah. And I've decided I have not included slavery, but there is like forced labor. To set up a colony, the old world has taken a lot of criminals and other people in prison that were just sitting there, and they are shipped off to the new world to do some labor and build up this world.
Sure. So
then they're not technically slaves, but they're still doing forced labor and work for the authorities. And inhabitants of the old world, it's for the players, it's still a bit of a mystery. So far, they only have explored old ruins of a lost civilization. In this case, a drow elf civilization that has been in conflict with some other entities. And I cannot...
The old world, right?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
And I cannot reveal too much because I know they will watch this video too. Okay. So I keep it a bit of a mystery still. Sure. But they thought their colony was the only one on the island or continent they currently are situated at. But recently they met some people not from their own nation, and they saw a ship sail past the coast, and now they feel like, our colony is being threatened by these other nations and other factions, and they now are thinking about what should we do with those.
Do you have established political tension, like one nation has a kind of relationship with another nation? Maybe they're enemies, maybe they're allies, maybe they're kind of a bit of both. Do you have the like established nations and their dynamics, how they relate to each other?
Yeah, I have all this. I've written this down. The players do not really know much about it yet. It also comes with the level of the players. They are level 5, and so they have done the early levels, the local adventures, the small dungeons in the vicinity of the early colony. And now they see all these factions getting towards the area. And now the more political, diplomatic, faction against faction part of the story can happen.
Okay. That's drives a lot of storytelling. And of course, we see that in movies and books and games. It's conflict always drives story. Stories really go. They have movement and they have energy because of some kind of conflict or tension. And when you put things at the scale of nations, and whether it's war or like the possibility that war could happen, it makes this like a rich environment for storytelling, and in particular, the kind of political elements that can drive a campaign that cares about the role playing and the storytelling side of it as much as the dungeon delving side of it. Do you draw influences or inspirations from European nations? Like, do you have like a Dutch type nation, and then maybe like a Spanish or Portuguese nation?
I have some inspiration from it, but I have not made it like, okay, this is the Dutch variation nation, this is the French one. I have just made new ones that kind of resemble the old European powers. But like what I can do, and this is also something that I have learned from you, or you have inspired me a lot by this, is using your voice to voice act and give your NPCs all kind of personality through voice acting.
Yeah.
And I have given each nation a kind of accent. Like this nation has a thick French accent, and that other one has a Russian accent. Okay. So I try to distinguish between those to give the players the feeling of, okay, this is a person from an entire different nation.
Yeah, players love that stuff, man. The more you
they do, and I also
and if you can make a flag or some kind of characteristic, like this nation typically produces these kinds of weapons and armor, and then this other nation favors, this nation is renowned for its longbow, it's bowmen, right? It's archers, and this nation is renowned for its, I don't know, they've got these huge axes that they're these really tall, big guys. Maybe that could be the Dutch inspired one, right? Dutch people are tall in my mind.
Yeah, pretty tall. Yeah, that's true.
Like tall people that they can withstand wielding these heavy weapons, and you don't want to get too close to them, or they'll cut you in half with one swing.
There is also a anecdote with the voice acting that I did. This microphone here, it's pretty new, and I bought it especially for the D&D sessions that we do online now. Because of the COVID pandemic, we have to resort to online D&D. Previously, we did it real life tabletop.
Yeah.
And I tried to voice act some drow, and I looked up some drow words and made it kind of creepy sounding. And I was talking through the microphone, and then my players were laughing, and I saw them being happy about it. And then they told me, "Hey, Michel, not everything you said came through." And then I discovered that my microphone has a noise reduction. So when I was talking, it thought I was just talking gibberish, or it was noise, so it cut it off. So part of my act, so to speak, it was completely cut off.
Well, maybe you could say that the drow was speaking a different dialect, so the character didn't actually fully understand what she was saying. So that's why they missed some of the words.
And eventually, I discovered the problem.
Your drow voice? I'm curious because you've talked about it.
Oh wow! Then I would have to look up the lines they use for it.
Let's just improv something. Let's say your drow character is meeting with my drow character in the Underdark, underneath this like faintly luminescent giant mushroom. Greetings from the Lady of Spiders to you.
Raskaskeleke stoefsteller Tuesday.
Yes. I have studied my clack speech as well. Puts a small piece of a little crustacean bit in his mouth to extend out his lip. Akarska Moramak.
Madama kraken love ruske skluske.
Not bad, not bad. So I actually just offered to sell you some poison. What did you reply with?
With Lol's willing, I will accept this poison from you and let us crush our enemies with it.
All right, the deal has gone down in the Underdark. Cool, man. Yeah, I'm so happy to hear that you've gotten inspiration from my stuff. I love all these things. I love building up campaign worlds and doing weird voices and animal monster noises and stuff.
It's also quite like D&D has changed my personality, my life a little bit, because when I did my first campaign, I really wanted to be a DM to be more outspoken. I always have been a kind of shy person, not wanting to be in the center of attention. But with our D&D group, the last dungeon master, he stopped his campaign, and so there was a open spot for DMing, and I was like, I will try it. I will just try to be in the center of attention. I will try to make the story for them, and they really loved it. They praised it, and for me that was like, okay, I can do this. I can work on myself as a person through this in a safe environment with my friends.
Yeah.
And
like
yeah, and I'm an introvert person. I think I read that you also were an introvert person.
Man, I don't even know what I am. So I have an introvert side, but I have an extrovert side too. I think some people have both going on.
Yeah.
Like if you go to a social gathering or a social event, like a party or something, does it make you feel kind of drained of your energy, or does it make you feel more energized?
It makes me drained. I like
typical
like when I want to go to a party, I am kind of hesitating, like, do I really want to go there and be engulfed in this mass of people? But still, I enjoy it. But after the party, I feel drained, and I feel like, okay, now I must rest. It does not give me energy. It takes energy from me.
Yeah, that's very, very common for an introvert. So, yeah, but everything's got pros and cons to it. I don't really think one is better than the other, right? So,
yeah,
when you take your time to yourself as an introvert, you can probably focus well on whether it's developing your D&D campaign or I don't know, whatever other kind of project that you're getting into. Some people that are hyper extrovert or very extroverted, they can go buzzing around to all these fun social things, but like they have no projects. Like they don't develop, they don't spend the time to develop, I don't know, skills and hobbies and stuff like that.
Yeah, I think in the end we can all enhance each other if we play into each other's strengths.
Yeah, that's what it's all about. Yeah, like D&D, everyone's got a strength and a weakness, and you got to make a party and somehow figure out how to get through all the problems. Okay, I know it's getting kind of late there, and I actually have a different topic that I need to address from a different patron, which will connect very well to our discussion. So that's neat how that's going to work out. So any final thoughts or questions before I let you go to sleep?
Yeah, I want to say my thanks to you for allowing me to be on your channel. My thanks to you for creating all your wonderful content, and I'm looking forward to your new book. And I also like to say a thank you to your players, to Warsaw, Adam, Nick, and Vince.
Yeah.
And I really like how they are. They feel so natural. Like they are players who are not professional actors. They feel not acting different because they are in front of a camera. They feel natural and themselves. And for me, that makes it attractive to watch you guys play D&D. So thank you for being online and exposing yourself to the world.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much as well. You have my great appreciation as well. For me to see that the thing that I've created, that somebody else can create something of their own with it, and like, you know, cycle it or recycle it, right? Remix it and go and do their own thing. And it's like I don't know, it's like a spreading fire, but like a good fire, right? It's very satisfying to me, actually. It's very, very fulfilling. There's something about contributing something to other people that really makes me feel like my life has a purpose to it. The only thing that I can kind of relate it to is like relationships, like marriage, having children. That also gives you this really good sense of purpose. But yeah, I really appreciate that and your support. And there's something else you mentioned. Oh yeah, the campaigns. I appreciate you watching the campaigns. We have a lot of fun, and it really is just some friends basically playing D&D. It's not a high production value thing, but we love the game.
I think that makes it unique among the things I see on the internet for other groups. I saw some other groups, but to me they feel like more professional actors, and your group is just all natural, and that's what I like.
Yeah, that's it. None of us are professional actors. We're just people that really like D&D, and you know, the four guys that I've got in the crew, they're really smart guys, and they're good. They all are good at role playing in some way or another. Yeah, like you said, each one kind of has a strength of their own unique thing they bring to the table. So I have to give you all the thanks as well. So appreciate you coming on and for staying up really late. So good night.
It was a pleasure, Esper, and may our adventures be many.
Yes, man. May your adventures be many, always. All right. Well, hey, I'll talk to you later on.
Bye-bye.
All right. See you.
May our adventures be many.
Sorry, I hit the wrong button there. I'm still here. Okay. So I have a topic from a different patron that actually is going to flow really well with what Michelle was talking about with me. So I'm going to read it out here. I'm going to read what he wrote. Okay. What I would like you to bring up during the live stream is the balance between creating your own world and how to pace oneself. I've been writing my world of Abaddon for about 2 years and just managed to make a mess of much of it. Not that I mind the work that's required to fit all of the lore that I put out before my players, but if I could give my past self some pointers, it would be to take it slower. I guess I would really like you to talk about how to make a small homebrew setting feel more real without putting in 2 years worth of planning and writing about the lore of the gods and the history of the land and the politics, the trade, and so many other points that I have come across that while they help me to create things on the fly, my players never get to see or interact with them. So I know what you're saying. You've spent a lot of time writing the lore of the world, writing the exposition, and the players don't necessarily get to interact, or they don't even know, right, a lot of the stuff. Okay, this question comes from Adrian Powalsen, who I believe is from Sweden. So forgive me if I've mispronounced anything there. Okay, well, thank you for the question, Adrian. Yeah, you don't want to go overboard and just overload yourself with way too much exposition and lore writing and world building, unless you just really enjoy that. But it seems like the issue that you're talking about here is you're kind of disappointed or a little, like, oh, I spent all that time. Maybe you feel like you've wasted some time, or you feel that you wish players would know or interact with or care about more of the world that you've been building, all that kind of stuff. So, all right. There's different ways you can do this. There's different ways you can build a world. There's different approaches to role playing and to writing, right? So I can't talk about all of them, but I'll go over a couple things, like a couple approaches that that should be helpful for you. And it sounds like you're already kind of thinking in this direction. So until the player characters actually start encountering something in game, until they go to a location, until they talk to an NPC, until they get into an encounter with a monster, until they find an item, until something becomes real and it matters to the actual character, it basically doesn't exist in their mind. Even if you've told them about it, even if you said, like, 100 years ago there was, Queen Malabava, and Queen Malabava had these sadistic practices and she was infamous, but also some people were devoted to her and they loved her because she brought great wealth to some of the classes in the nation, blah 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 blah. And you sit there and you talk about this queen from the history of your world that you wrote like a short story about. So maybe you are an amazing storyteller and the players are just going to listen to everything you say because it's just that cool of a story. Or they might kind of like shut off, or their minds will wander and they'll daydream, or hopefully not, but one of them might grab their cell phone and start looking at their phone. They might get distracted. All right. But if you have a scene where the characters find a letter written by Queen, what did I call her? Alabava? I can't remember the name I just said. Alabavma? Okay. They find a letter, a historical document, a secret document written by Queen Alabavma. And on this document, there is instructions on how to unseal a hidden vault, where inside there is artifacts or cursed items or treasure. And maybe it even mentions a secret faction, maybe like a Assassin's Guild that she established back then and still exists to this day. And one of the main families of this Assassin's Guild is a rival of your character's family. And, this sheds some light on a concealed plot where your family's at risk, right? You're in danger, maybe. Well, suddenly they're going to remember the name of this NPC, and they're going to care about who she is, and they're going to care about this one little brick in the whole edifice that is your world that you've been building. Yes. So if you make it real, and by real I mean it's in the campaign and the characters actually come into contact with it, and it has some kind of impact or some implication or maybe some conflict. Remember, the conflict drives the stories. It has some, it relates to the character in some kind of way. It could be anything. Then they're going to start caring about it a lot more. And if you want, just focus on, only spend your time, your preparation time, working on things that the player can actually come into contact with, or maybe they're going to come into contact with soon. If you could focus, at least focus most of your effort on that. And like, imagine that your world building and your lore is a thread, right? Like a thread of cloth. No, not cloth. What am I? Cotton. Yeah. And so you've got adventures and like the reasons why the characters would want to be on these adventures, the hooks, and like the monsters and the treasure and the leveling up, and like all these active, engaging elements of the game, like the mechanics of the game and the actual quests that they're on, right? You've got all these main parts of the game that this like landscape that the characters are moving through and encountering the obstacles and stuff. Okay, you would take your needle and take your thread of your lore and weave it all throughout that. So it goes from being exposition, which is in outer space, it's in daydream land, it's just in your head, or maybe, like I said before, where you're just giving them this dump of exposition, and after 5 minutes they're spaced out. Yep. Instead of it being this removed thing, aloof thing, it's like right here and now in the actual content of the game, and it has an impact on the game. It's not selfish that a player tends to just care about the things that they are engaged with, the encounters that the monsters they're fighting, and the skill encounters they're navigating, and the explorations that they're trying to navigate through, and the abilities they want to get when they level up, and the treasure and the spells they want to select. These things that are just like pertinent to the actual character here and now. It's not selfish or bad for people to have this tendency to care more about that, or maybe they only care about that. I think it's human nature, right? We can only focus on so many things. We can only care about so many things at one time. We're limited, yeah, and your attention can only move around within a certain range. So instead of spending a lot of time developing the world background and histories, and I'm not saying don't do that. I'm not telling you to do anything extreme. Just like, instead of this much writing your backstory of your world and all your lore, bring it down to like this much, yeah, and connect it with what's actually happening, right? The Queen Alabavma, I guess, was the name I just pulled out of nowhere. Queen Alabavma's grandson now is the king, and he has some nasty policies, and he still funds this Assassin's Guild, the Assassin's Guild that some of its members have bad blood with this character and his family, and this bad blood goes back generations. And maybe someone the character cared about was killed by these assassins. Maybe his father, maybe his mother, maybe his grandparents. Maybe his grandparents were assassinated and his parents fled the nation in hiding And then the player character was born in hiding and has lived his whole life on the run, or having to conceal his identity, or having to live as a foreigner in a different land and treated as an outsider, because in his family's homeland there's too much danger. So then the player's really going to care about this historical Alabama and who her son was, who tried to steer things in the right direction, but then was assassinated by his brother. And then his brother's son is the current king now. Yep. And the players are going to remember the names. They're going to ask you for the spellings of these names. And that's a great moment when the players are writing it down and how do you spell that? It's a great feeling for the DM, because they're caring about the stuff that you're creating and you care about it. Yep. So when it becomes real and it's really involved with the actual gameplay that's happening right now and the conflicts that the characters are involved with, then people are going to care about it. And aside from the I've been talking a lot about like investment, like the how much the players are invested into it. Besides the investment part, there's just the time saving part. Like writing takes time, especially if you want to write good things. If you want to come up with cool ideas and good stories and things that aren't full of plot holes, it takes time, and your time is precious. So it's good to save time. And so, let's say you write, maybe, let's say the campaign is starting, right? We're going into session 1. You have maybe 2 pages that you've written. Maybe even there's some sketches in these 2 pages. They don't even have to be all text. And the 2 pages are just the main things that are going to get the campaign going. Where are we? What is this place all about? Who lives here? What's the current story or conflict that's happening in the area? What kind of happened in the past? Where are some nearby locations? Maybe we can think of it as a region. It doesn't have to be a region. It could be like one city and the mountain next to it if you want, or one city, a river that leads to a small village in a woods. It could be a whole kingdom if you want, like a nation. That could be fine too. But just think like 2 pages and things that are like just the main building blocks to like get things going and like start the fire, get it ignited. And that's all you need, just that. And then you'll build session after session, week after week, month after month, adventure after adventure. Just add a little more, right? Just kind of think of another analogy would be a painting, right? Like a painting that's a portrait of someone, right? We'll just start with the eyes. Okay, we've got an expression. Something's being conveyed through the expression. Okay, then later, let's get in the nose. Then later, let's get in the mouth. And you just slowly put it together. Don't rush and don't overdo it, and just let it flow. Stuff will come up organically as you improvise during your sessions. You can just make stuff up off the top of your head. You can do random generators. You can do random dice rolls. You can buy, like I've got these GM's dressing dice. And these are interesting dice. They just have little icons on them. That's all they are, just icons. Got a whole bag full of these things. If I want, I just pull one of these out, roll it, and we've got this, this looks like a jar or an urn with an ankh on it. So it has kind of a religious feeling. So I can improvise that for a dungeon room if I want. And ideas will come to you. Yeah, it'll be like a little spark. And maybe that little spark is something that you want to develop. And then the session's over and you think, oh, maybe there was a faction that was their practice. That was their religious practice. was they would burn their dead. They'd put the ashes in these jars. And they'd put a symbol on them. And what does that symbol mean? And maybe you go and you research what is Ankh, what does the Ankh represent? And you read a little historical thing from ancient Egypt, and you add some of that idea in. And these things they come organically. So let it just kind of build and grow. That's one way to do it. There was another approach that I was going to mention, but it's actually kind of escaping me now because I got so deep into thought on that one. Well, if it comes back to me, I'll remember. So I got a super chat here from the real Holtzinator. Hey Esper, I hope you're well. I just joined the stream. Is everyone from your Sunday gaming group okay? Thank you very much, real Holtzinator. Appreciate the donation there. Yes, everything is going well. We will be back to Mirrormorn this upcoming Sunday, in fact. Yeah? Yes, this upcoming Sunday we'll be back to Mirrormorn. Just some scheduling things and some minor issues was all. So no worries there. Thank you very much for asking. Gosh, I feel like I could say so much about world building and doing the lore and stuff. Let me show you another approach, and it's completely different. I guess it's kind of the same in the sense that the idea is to start small and build, but it involves more art. So, you know what? Actually, instead of me just improvising drawing stuff because I'm an artist and stuff can just kind of come to me, what if I wasn't, and what if I weren't an artist? What would I do? So here's something we can do. We're going to draw upon a random generator. I like random generators. So I'm going to do a random image generator. It's from randomwordgenerator.com. Okay. So we're going to use art as inspiration. This is going to be fast because I'm about out of time here, guys. Okay. So this is a cool website. It's going to generate a random picture. Okay. We've got a padlock, keys, and the padlock is looping through the holes on pages, on paper. And there's a pen that has scribbled a little marking down in the corner. I like this site. It always gives interesting and peculiar images. All right, so we're going to take that. We're going to do the seed of a little region from this image, right? So lock, book, tome, locked tome, locked book. That's interesting. I think I've seen books before that they have a metal clasp and they actually have a lock mechanism built into the book. You need a key to open the book. Sounds like something a wizard would do. So I'm going to start off with I'm going to make like a tomb. So again, I'm going to do this quickly for the sake of time here. But I realized that I wanted to throw out one other little idea quickly here. Okay, so I think that's all I need. Okay, so I've just drawn a little icon of the tomb, sort of a barrow tomb, right? And we'll call this barrow of the locked tome. Not tomb, but tome. Barrow of the locked tome. Forgive my hasty handwriting. Barrow of the locked tome. Well, that sounds like a place of adventure. Why would anyone want to go there? Okay, I'm going to go to my next image. There is an ape hand grasping onto rope, ape, rope, ape. Okay, so I'm going to incorporate something rope-like. Makes me think of a rope bridge. So how can I draw this really quickly? I think it needs to have 2 posts. I wish I had a different camera that could be showing the paper as I'm sketching, so you guys aren't just hanging there not seeing anything. But again, I will try to do this quickly. Okay. Yeah, I guess this seems sort of like a rope bridge. I hope that is what I've sketched here. Okay. So, okay. I guess I wasn't concerned about the ape hand, just the idea of rope and holding on to rope. And what is the rope bridge spanning over? It would need to be spanning over a chasm of some kind, a gorge. Yeah, maybe a gorge, a ravine, a crevasse. All right. So how do I draw this? Yeah. And you don't need to be a great artist to do this, by the way. This is not an art tutorial. This is just an idea for world building. Okay. Do we want water at the bottom of this? I'm thinking no. I think a dry bottom and maybe some jagged rocks. Okay. So here we go. We've got a sort of gorge or dry ravine with jagged rocks at the bottom. This needs a name. This is dry, jagged rocks, teeth, spines, claw, spike. Yeah, spike bottom, spike floor, spike floor, spike floor, dry floors, fanged floor, fanged floor, fanged. Let's just mess with those words. Fangalore. Fang Galore. Is that a magazine? Fangalore? It might be. If it is, don't sue me. All right. Fangalore. Gulch. Fangalore Gorge. Fangalore Gorge. Oh, that has a nice ring to it. Fangalore Gorge. Rope Bridge. Okay, well, that's not a name, but I'm just going to write rope bridge just as a note to myself. Okay, here we go. So we could continue with this as much as we wanted, but I have found that, I don't know how else to say this, you can inspire yourself. You can ideas for worlds and adventures can just come to you by making a map. And the map can be made, like you just saw here, out of randomly generated elements. Doesn't have to be randomly generated. Go to the library. Just take a look at whatever book strikes your fancy. Go to the grocery store. Pull some books or some magazines off. Go to Instagram. Search for whatever topic. Could be fantasy maps. That would be a cool thing to do, but it doesn't have to be. You could search something you've never searched before in your life. Watch randomly generated YouTube videos, or not randomly, any topic that's of interest to you. There's inspiration all around. However you want to get it, make a map, create an original map. And I mean with pen or pencil on paper, physical, like old school analog style. Something happens when you are physically creating something. So it's different than digital. And I love digital, but there's something unique happens when you draw and you write and you create something in the material world, on the material plane with your analog body. And just looking at this map, ideas will start coming to you. And again, it could be for world building. It could be for an adventure. doesn't have to be big. It could just be this region. I could generate or draw like 2 more icons on this map. Maybe we need a road that indicates which way back to civilization, or maybe you want to actually put a settlement on there, a town, a castle, a city, a guard fort, a farm, a shrine, a hermit's shack, dwarven cave town, whatever it is. The rope idea, like there could be this big jungle gym. What's a really acrobatic, athletic kind of race? Elf? Kobold? Are kobolds acrobatic? I guess they kind of are. Wouldn't that be cool? Like a big rope platform kobold town. There could be all kinds of cool encounters there. Anyhow, with that alone, you've got enough to start building an adventure, to start developing a region, or even the beginnings of a world. Again, it's a different approach. Maybe it doesn't work for everyone, but I love it. I love it. I've done stuff like this many times for especially highly improv campaigns, or like really casual, like, oh, I'm going to, family Thanksgiving get together, like a family gathering, and I'm going to run something for my cousins or my nieces. And so let's just whip something out real quick, and we'll just have fun and improv as we go along. Cool. Well, I hope those ideas were helpful to you all. I'm going to need to get going here. Actually, I'm going to go DM for my Tuesday group now. Thank you, everybody. Once again, thank you to the patrons of the month. Appreciate you guys. And I look forward to the next one. So take care, and I will see you next time. Farewell for now.